From trees to mimicry?
Welcome back to Teatime Tales. This week we're hurtling back to Gen 2 to look at a somewhat familiar obstacle. Our table talk guest this week is Sudowoodo. Now you're probably thinking, we have legendaries and a whole plethora of other Pokémon. Why are we looking at a goofy tree? Well, after the level of dedication it has to its cause, how can I not? So let's grab a cup of tea and start with the name breakdown.
Sudowoodo is likely a combination and corruption of the word pseudo, meaning false, and wood. Sudowoodo's Japanese name, USOKKIE, is broken down from uso, meaning lie, ki, meaning wood or tree, and Usutsuki, meaning liar.
So essentially his name translates to lying tree wood?
Name translations aside, Sudowoodo's design origins are actually based on trees and petrified wood, which is a plant that has become completely fossilised over time.
This little factoid of information would explain why Sudowoodo is pure rock type as opposed to being grass type.
And this is backed up by its very first Pokédex entry back in Pokémon Gold, which states, although it pretends to be a tree, its composition appears to be closer to a rock than a plant.
Our guest seems to have an almost genetic disposition for mimicking trees. That must mean they're really good at it, right? Well...
not as such. In fact, its Crystal Pokédex entry states, if a tree branch shakes when there's no wind, it's a Sudowoodo and not a tree. This clearly indicates that the local Johto population is more than aware of Sudowoodo's disguise. Furthermore, if the weather turns sour, or if someone decides to water it, our guest drops the axe immediately and runs off to find shelter.
So you're likely asking yourself, why does Sudowoodo even do what it does? Well, maybe this week's segment can answer that question for you. A segment that I'm going to call Camouflage Capers.
It's highly likely that Sudowoodo's designer, Ken Sugimori, wow, he really does have a big part to play in Pokemon, doesn't he? Drew inspiration from the stick insect. These are bugs that have evolved to resemble twigs and leaves, specifically to evade dangerous predators.
And this is actually reflected somewhat in Sudowoodo's design. For example, the forked horn right here strongly resembles the insect's antennae.
The other characteristic the stick insects sort of share with our guest is that they actively avoid open water because they can drown. While not exactly alike, the slight similarity is there. The only thing our real-life counterpart doesn't share with our guest is a certain fanatic fan base with the elderly. According to its Ultrasun Pokédex entry, for some strange reason, there is an entire lifestyle magazine dedicated purely to our guest, where the fans are particularly obsessed with the length and angles of its arms. Right.
Well, I'm not one to judge. I mean, I have a rather eccentric list of likes myself, but making exact measurements of their arms? Yeesh. It's no wonder our guest tries to camouflage itself. It's probably trying to escape its unusual fan base armed to the teeth with tape measures and rulers. Yikes! Okay, I think the coast is clear. Okay, let's calm down and take a look at some of the fine artworks we have in this week's Card Breakdown.
I'd be remiss if we didn't start things off with the OG Sudowoodo card from Neo Genesis, designed by this Pokemon's actual creator, Ken Sugimori. Okay, this guy is officially everywhere in Pokemon. Anyway, I absolutely love the nostalgia this card brings, not to mention the iconic Sudowoodo pose, coupled with the seemingly hedgerow-like greenery in the background. In all seriousness, Ken, love your work. Next up, we have this grand Unified Minds promo, illustrated by Akira Komeyama. I love the narrative this artwork gives off. It looks as though it's vigorously defending itself from an incoming attack. The move, Territorial Strike, helps sell the narrative even further, and the colours here are just so incredibly crisp. And lastly, we have this beautiful illustration rare from Paldea Evolved, illustrated by Narumi Sato. This art, in my opinion, is a true piece of excellence. The use of watercolour in this piece really makes our guests shine through. Even if they are desperately trying to camouflage themselves into the scenery, it legitimately looks and feels like something you'd find on a picturesque postcard. Plus, Narumi has captured the essence of the Sudowoodo pose perfectly. Maybe the artist is trying to convey our guest hiding from its adoring fan base.
And that's all on Sudowoodo. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Tea Time Tale. If you haven't made like a tree and leaf and want to see more, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss it for when a new guest joins me for tea. Or, if you want to see more videos done by myself, feel free to check out some of my other videos here. Until the next time, have a blessed day, and do stop by again.